Hello everybody, hope you guys are doing absolutely wonderful today, and in today's video we'll be going over what I believe to be the top 13 units in the daily festival event. The daily festival event has released 13 different units and unit evolutions that have solidified a solid place in the current meta. These units are not only solid, some are even game changers. So without further ado, let's get into the list. At number 1 we have Eizen, or Soul God. This should come as no surprise, but Eizen is far and away the best unit released in this event and the best unit in the game. Eizen on placement has amazing placement damage along with the passive Strongest, which allows him to raise his attack until plus 150% attack, and Superpower, which allows him to deal 3 times damage with a 50% chance to activate. After he evolves for the first time, he gains a new passive called Pressure Counter. Pressure Counter slows the enemy and also has a buffed up version of Superpower where it has still the same 50% chance, but it deals 3 times damage, and the damage of this effect increases by 0.1 times for every wave that passes. This maxes out at 7 times damage. He also has a counterattack ability. Whenever the unit gets stunned, it counterattack and removes the stun. On top of that, he also gets a new unit passive that allows him to deal 25% attack and apply vulnerable to all enemies in 50% of his range every 5 seconds. To evolve into his next form, he requires 2.5 billion damage. So once you click it, this will be what you're shown. Once again, he remains with his pressure counter passive, and he gains some new abilities. Kuro Higetsu, which deals 10 times his attack and time stops all enemies in range for 30 seconds. After using Kuro Higetsu 3 times, you are able to use full incantation Kuro Higetsu, which deals 100 times his attack and time stops all enemies in range for 120 seconds. And then his last ability rewinds all the enemies and protects units in range for 60 seconds, absolute hypnosis, and it is stackable with other effects. Now we come over to his passive. He gains a new unit passive where he does 4 times attack to all elements and deals 50% attack and applies vulnerable to all enemies in 75% of range every 5 seconds. Now once again, to evolve him, you need to wait 510 seconds, but now we have him completely maxed out. This is his max form and the peak of his powers. So with this, he gains a new passive once again. He keeps his 4 times to all elements, but now he guarantees max damage for his passive pressure counter. And now he boosts his ability up to dealing 75% attack and applying vulnerable to all enemies in his range every 5 seconds. As you can see, Eizen is a really good unit, very strong. He's getting up to 708 mil by himself, which is absolutely insane. He has a lot of range, his SBA isn't too long, and his passive is absolutely phenomenal. As you can see, he's a relatively cheap unit, so Eizen is definitely one of them ones, probably the best unit to ever come out in this game, and probably the best unit for a good while. And it does not struggle to take down any type of enemy, absolutely destroying 100 billion. And yeah, that's just what Eizen does. Very solid unit, extremely good, the best unit in the game. Highly recommend you get him. Coming in at number 2, we have Nero, or Umei. This unit is another one of the game changers that I previously mentioned. She leads Flower of AWTD with a solid lead of 125% attack and minus 10% SBA. She rounds out the already strong Flower of AWTD category thanks to her high damage dealing capabilities and her impressive abilities. Not only is Umei a decently cheap unit, she is a very effective damage dealer with a strong passive in White Flames. White Flames applies a flame effect and buffs the damage of flame passives by 25% and effects resist enemies. Not to mention, this passive also applies vulnerable to enemies, making them take 50% more damage and buff slow by 20% for an amount of time. This makes her both an amazing DPS option and a sneakily good support. Her Flower of Earth ability functions somewhat as a buff, allowing 2 random units to receive a 4 times buff if they are in her range for 60 seconds. Her second ability, Stars in Heaven, increases the duration of Golden Theater. Her third and final ability, by 10 seconds and increases the damage by 10%, the max being 300 seconds. From my understanding, after using this ability 30 times, which would be the max, you get a 360-second time stop from her Golden Theater ability, which already has a 60-second time stop, and you multiply her total damage by 3000% at the end of the time stop to nuke the enemies. She is not only a weekly challenge must-have, she's also a vital unit to any run that requires a solid damage dealer and a nuke/time stop. Coming in at number 3, we have Saitama, or Casual Hero. Saitama is one of those units that do exactly what you want them to do. Maybe one of the best iterations of Saitama. This unit does a respectable amount of damage, but really gets to shine if you have Honored One on him. His passive Destroyer is amazing because it's a combination of Decay, Karma, and Superpower. Decay deals more damage the lower the enemy's HP is, and Karma deals more damage to enemies the closer they are to max HP, allowing him to do a lot of damage regardless of how much HP the enemy has. His unit passive makes him immune to every enemy effect, which is insane. I believe this also makes him immune to absorption, so he can easily blitz through the Sukuna boss fight. With someone like Saitama, he also deals 5 times his attack per second over 10 seconds, every 60 seconds in his range, netting around 300 range with full buffs, and being full AoE, he can do a ridiculous amount of damage at one time. His ability, Serious Squirt Gun, which deals his total damage to all enemies on the map. It's only a one use, but it's a super good nuke since it deals that damage to all enemies, not just enemies in range. His next ability, Serious Punch, deals 10 times his total damage to all enemies. This nuke is a one-time use too, but still deals an insane amount of damage regardless. Rarely does a unit have 2 nukes, but Saitama's nukes is one of those nukes that genuinely allow you to kill almost anything. A must-have in any situation that a nuke can be used for. Coming in at number 4, Uno Ohana, or Uno Bankai. This unit is absolutely insane and revolutionary in many ways. She allows you to play the game on what feels like easy mode, maxed out. She's a solid DPS option with a decently sized cone AoE. Her hemorrhage passive allows her to apply bleeding and hemorrhage at the same time with a 100% chance to activate. Hemorrhage is stackable, and her 1.5 second SPA allows for her to deal a lot of damage. But that's only a small portion of what makes her so good. What makes her broken is her unit passives. The first thing she offers is a new passive named Melting. She deals 100% of her attack and applies Melting to all enemies in her range every 5 seconds. Melting deals 100% of the unit's damage every 1 second and increases damage by 5% every 1 second with a cap of 250%. To add on to that, Melting can also affect metal enemies, which is absolutely insane. But that's not even what makes her so good. She heals the base and restores 5 stamina to all units in range every 5 seconds. She heals the base based off of her current attack at the time. She also removes all debuffs every 10 seconds, and this stuff allows her to dominate as a damage dealer and one of, if not the best supports in the game. Coming in at number 5, we have Yuki, or Star Sorceress. She is another one of those units who seem like a decent DPS option, but there is more to her character than that. Her passive, Mass, is insanely powerful. For every 10 times Mass is triggered, she increases damage dealt by Mass by 2 times. Once Mass reaches its cap of 32 times damage, it resets back to 2 times after happening 100 times. That's already insanely good, but she also has a summon that can buff her attack by 150%. Her other abilities, such as Mass Manipulation, deal 5 times the unit's damage to all enemies in range with a guaranteed Mass effect. The damage multiplied of Mass will be the same as the current multiplier when this ability activates, which allows her to somewhat use that ability like a nuke. Her last ability, Virtual Black Hole, deals 1,000 times her damage to all enemies in range with the gravity effect and sacrifices her. This is a one-time use, but it's insanely powerful as a nuke when it comes down to it. This is a sneakily powerful unit that can be used in any situation. Coming in at number 6, we have Nice or Perfect Hero. This unit seems way better than it really is, but even still, it's a ridiculously good unit. Nice is a unique character because it's the first unit to ever have different in-game stats based on how many duplicates you own of him. When you finally get to 10 dupes, you can get an extra upgrade and an ability that allows him to increase his attack by 300%. His passive Unstoppable is really good because it has resist, superpower, and raise attack all in one. At this unit's peak, he can reach up to 400 million damage with a decent line AoE. This sounds insane, but since he doesn't really have any passives or abilities going for him, the damage isn't actually that impressive when he's actually out there on the field. It's still really good and solid no matter what though. Coming in at number 7, we have Yamato, or Oni Princess. This unit is super solid and redemption for those of you guys who never got Sogeking or Usopp. She is a hybrid, so she immediately attacks both ground and hill enemies and can be placed anywhere you wish on the map. Her passive Rising Voltage is solid, and her unit passive Advanced Will allows this unit to ignore elemental, metal, and resist enemies. This allows her to do damage to enemies no matter what they are. This is amazing and super versatile, allowing her to flourish in Metal Rush teams, and especially in Abyss. With her, you won't have to go through constant roster changes, and instead you can just play the game through. Very solid and helpful unit. Coming in at number 8, we have Misa Rail Gun. This unit isn't impressive at all on the offensive end, but her abilities and passives make her a support icon. Her passive Knockout has stun, knockback, and superpower all in one, along with her manual ability that knocks enemies back in range and time stops them. She has a skinny line AoE, which is solid for knocking units back in lines with knockback. To add to that, she also has blindness as a passive on placement and paralysis 2 after upgrade 4. You can use these other passives to better assist you when attempting to slow down enemies. Since she's multiple placement, this basically allows you to create schemes to slow the enemy down with different passives. Super solid and easy to get, and very versatile. Coming in at number 9, we have Choso or Bloody Brother. This unit isn't all that impressive, but can still be a decent damage dealing option depending on what your team needs. Poison now is a really solid passive that does 300% of the unit's damage every 5 seconds with an infinite duration. He also has a passive that increases the attack of sibling units by 72%. Also, this unit leaves behind bloody traps after every attack, which can be exploded by his active ability, Supernova Trap. This unit is okay, but honestly nothing to stress about. Decent damage dealing option for sure. Coming in at number 10, Nagamo or Copycat Assassin. Not much to say about this unit, to be honest. I'm not a fan of the tracking mechanic, and I personally think it's stupid, but he has the passive random, which allows him to apply some solid debuffs for the enemies. Not a unit that I'd personally pursue unless you want to collect all the units from this event. Just okay, nothing to really concern yourself about. Coming in at number 11, Mamika or Magical Ribbon is another one of those units that aren't really worth paying attention to. Really solid for early game, as she is 4 placement hill with the passive called Passion, which stops enemies movement for a certain amount of time and affects resist enemies. This unit also has a guaranteed chance to crit when attacking a charmed enemy. She also has a nuke ability that deals her total damage to all enemies before deleting the unit. The amount of damage it can deal is maxed out at 250 million. Coming in at number 12, Sunjun or Q Ventriloquist is just a character. He has random as a passive and is also a hybrid unit. Outside of that, he doesn't really have any impressive damage totals, but he is a cheap option for some really quick damage. Decent unit for people in the early game, I suppose. Coming in at number 13, last and most definitely least, Goku or Mini Kongun. This unit is completely useless. Maybe he'll get an evolution sometime soon, but for now, he's absolutely useless. Don't even bother with him. Well, collect him at the very least. And that just about sums up all the units in the Daily Festival update. This update was one of the best updates / events this game has seen in a long while, and I'm proud that I was able to play through it all. It's really solid, and a lot of respect goes out to the devs for adding units daily. With that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll be seeing you guys later.